So Mo claims that he's done some background research today and that he could, what was the word you used?
Throw you
That he could
off.
throw me off. Well, let's see what happens on today's episode of the Urban Platform.
Yeah, and Aaron, I quickly wanted to restructure our format a little bit. I know I've always said that, hey, we don't really have a format, we just want to go with the flow. But to make it a little bit better for our viewers, what we have recently done since last episode is we will link whatever articles we have read in the description below. And I thought of starting off as giving ourselves a bit of an introduction. So, Aaron, I want you to
Sure.
introduce yourself, what association you're part of, your position in that association, and your research interests. Just go with those three.
Sure thing. So I'm Aaron Bensmehan, or Aaron, or Aaron.
Mhm.
Uh, I am a third year urban planning student, emphasize planning. Um, and I'm graduating in June if all goes according to plan.
Mhm.
I am a VP academic of the UPA, and I am a self-proclaimed transport buff. I know a little bit about every transport project happening in the island, on the island of Montreal. Um, it's always fascinating to me to see what's coming out of the pipelines, literally and figuratively. Um, yeah, I do a lot of work on transport planning. It's a lot of cool stuff. I'm currently attending the Transportation Research Board annual meeting, or TRBAM. Yes, I said it right. TRBAM 2021, all online. It's actually really cool. They're like, it's a bunch of experts, and it makes me feel like I know absolutely nothing. And I'll admit, I know absolutely nothing. So don't take my word for granted when I talk. I just like talking, but doesn't mean I know what I'm talking about half the time. But I
Hey,
will always, here's my promise, I will always try to be informed and get a general look of what I'm looking
hey,
at,
I'm sorry, did my screen just gonna like freeze or something?
like for a second.
For a second, yeah, I randomly got a FaceTime call, so we'll let
Okay.
that be. Just gonna throw that in there. But hey, as you said, that you're probably not the most you're informed, but you may not understand what's going on maybe half the time or for some period of time during these conferences or uh yeah, like but I've always believed in the fact that we're students. We are learning every single day and we try to get as much information as we can and we keep growing, our minds are growing, we're becoming more knowledgeable over time, obviously if you're putting the effort to become more knowledgeable. And I know, and I can be the one who says this, I know Aaron for a fact is the one who puts in a lot of effort in whatever he's passionate about, whether that be transportation, and he takes education to a whole other level. Like he's opened my eyes up on on how to appreciate it a bit more, especially with sometimes how I've complained about certain classes or certain material that we were learning that I just personally thought wasn't all that useful, but he's always shed some light on it. So Aaron, props to you on that. That's my
Thank
mini
you, Mo.
shout out to you.
Thank you. And I do want to say something. Thanks for the compliment.
Sure.
And in these days and age, in this day and age, it's kind of hard to get compliments these days. It's not like you could go up to somebody and be like, "Hey, nice shirt," right? You're on a Zoom call. So thanks for that, and thanks for
No, no, of course, and I'm
doing
gonna
it
give credit
straight
credit
yourself.
words to you. I'm always gonna do that. And yeah, quick introduction of me. My name is Muhammad Ali Rashid. I am with Aaron in Concordia University, president of the Urban Planning Association, and my interests are sort of, I would say, all over the place, but I'm mostly interested in real estate development, urban renewal, and sustainable development that comes with it. So everything goes hand in hand at the end of the day. And not that much on I like the topic of transportation, but I'm not that heavy on it. But I'm always interested to hear anything transport related, whether it be in the Montreal context or from a global context. So today's topic, okay, let's go right into it. Uh,
Drum roll,
Basically,
please.
we didn't really come up with a formal name for this topic, but I think in our title, video title, it'll be expressed properly. But essentially, winter activities that can be done.
Winter planning. Yeah.
Winter planning and activities that can be put in place. And I sort of wanted to start this part of planning, the winter planning, from an individual way we can plan it together, with whether it be yourself with your family or your family, friends, and then we can go sort of to a larger extent where we talk about how community can get involved with this. I was thinking throughout the day for this topic. I quickly skimmed a couple of articles, and I don't know if this is going to throw you off or not. It might throw the viewers off a little bit, but I found one funny article. Okay, not funny in the sense where the title's funny. Okay, it
Let
is
me guess,
50
from
fun.
The Onion?
Not from The Onion. It's actually from verywellfamily.com. Interesting name.
Okay.
Okay, and the title's funny. So just give me a second to explain. 50 fun things for teens to do this winter. Okay, we're not teens. I get it. Okay, we're adults. But the reason I like this article is because it has a table of contents, and I focused more on the outdoor activities that can be done. Okay, and here's some ideas to essentially get this kick started. Okay, first one, and I want your reaction out of it. Okay, this is what can be done from an individual slash family point of view, like what you could do just yourselves right here, right now, without any formal processes. So
If you say build a snowman, I'm not breaking out into song and singing from Frozen, right?
so basically, yeah, it is the first one: build a snowman or a snow fort. Okay.
I was walking by some today, and it was really cute. There was this one with three tunnels on the side, and then they had a Canadian flag at the top of their fort. And all across like my neighborhood, there's a bunch of snowman competitions.
Mhm.
A couple of doors down, there's four people in the house, and they made one like each. So like one for the small boy, one for the
Yeah.
small girl, one for mom and dad. And then I saw like this massive one that was somehow double my height. So like a 12-foot snowman. I don't know how that was possible. I think there must have been a ladder involved.
We need to get in contact with those guys. That's
Yeah.
insane. Okay, so now, yeah, everyone may be like, why are these guys talking about snowmans or snowman or building a snow fort, as it says on the list? Now, my thing about this is, now, if you have a little sibling, right, or a nephew, niece, or you babysit, right, whatever it may be, um, give them that experience, because I'm sure when you were younger,
Yeah.
and you would be lying if you wouldn't admit this, that we were all once into wanting to build a snowman, having snow fights, building a cool fort, igloo type of thing in the snow. Like, come on, right? So if you can give somebody else that experience, why not?
Yeah. And you're never
As
too old
mature
to throw,
adults, okay?
especially in a COVID era where sometimes you just want to slap a friend because they've said something stupid. You could literally go on a walk and throw a snowball. So it's the same effect,
We're gonna
if
get to a
not,
snowball fight in a second, and
if
I
not
just want
more
to.
satisfying.
Yeah. Okay. Second thing on the list I want to introduce to you is, which I think you would really like, by the way, because when I saw this, I'm like, this is definitely an Aaron thing to do. Go on a winter photo scavenger hunt.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I will admit it's a little chilly. Like today, it was too cold to try that. I went for a walk and I think it was minus 13, minus 14, 15. My phone died twice on the walk. It was at 67%. It died because of the cold, so I wouldn't try it today for a photo hunt because you literally freeze your
Did you have a
fingers
case
off.
on your phone?
I do have a
Stupid
case on.
joke. A stupid
I
joke.
do have a case on my phone.
I just wanted to see if you would catch on. That doesn't. A
I
case
don't.
doesn't protect your phone like it protects us, guys. Just saying. Okay.
Wait, cases
Um.
protect us? What?
No, like a case, like it's not gonna. A case on your phone is not gonna protect it from the cold or the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so go on a winter photo scavenger hunt. So you think this is an overall good idea, that it should be implemented within groups of friends and maybe family
Yeah.
members too?
Yeah. I did it with my cousin. Like this was about a month ago. We
Hmm.
went to the old port just to see Christmas lights, and we're like, who could take the better picture of Christmas lights?
Of course, yeah. Or yeah,
So I definitely recommend it.
or so I know there are a lot of spaces which have some really nice Christmas trees.
Yeah.
They still may be up. I know it's way past Christmas. We're way into getting into February now, but go ahead and take some pictures of if you see any Christmas trees. There's still some people out there who have their Christmas lights right out, like set up right outside their homes. Maybe have a competition of who can get the best picture in the neighborhood, you know, things like
Yeah.
that.
Or like just
And
in a friend group.
Yeah, and we know it's COVID times. We know you can't really necessarily like meet up with friends, but maybe this is something you can do with your family, or you don't even have to meet up to do this. You could just set up a small friendly competition, and people have to send their photos in by a certain time, and you guys could have a third party judge. Just some random activities to think of. So I thought this was an interesting talking point. Aaron, do you have anything else to add on to this, or should we move on to the next?
Yeah, so with photo hunts, like it doesn't have to be too complex. It could literally be like find a picture of a snowman, right? Or you
Mhm.
can make it as complex as you want it to be. But point is, get outside and take pictures. Like no matter the time of year, it's always a good idea to bring your phone along, bring a camera, just shoot a bit, take some pictures. Can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. It's honestly, when I think of photo hunts or any scavenger hunt type of deals, I think it's very important to be creative at this point. Make it as fun as possible. Make it as challenging
Yeah,
as you want, or as simple as you want. The rules are up to you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Freedom.
have the freedom with it, right? So another one is, now I don't know how much this is going to appeal to you guys, the viewers, and Aaron, because it doesn't really appeal to me, to be honest. So third one on the list: go winter camping as a family and learn survival skills.
Yeah. um, That's a great idea. Definitely go outside and build some igloos.
Is it
But
really a good idea?
like to me, there's nothing appealing about carrying all of your hiking gear and camping gear with snow pants on, right? Like I barely want to carry your hiking and camping gear without snow pants on. Imagine doing it through 2 meters of snow. I'm good, thanks.
Exactly. And like, let's be real, man. Even people these days, like in Montreal as well, our common friends and stuff, nobody wants to go outside now. Like,
Yeah,
nobody,
but
dude.
like, but for
Yeah.
those people who do, I definitely applaud your efforts, and you
Yeah.
should try convincing some of us who are like, haha, that's a stupid idea to get outside and do it because I'm sure there's something about being able to look at the stars at 5 o'clock at night and not have to wait until 9 o'clock at night to see them.
Yeah. So, I really have nothing else to say on this. I respect the people who also would go out and commit to this type of adventure, we'll call it.
Yeah,
But make
it's
sure you know what you're
definitely an
doing.
adventure. Yeah, and like I would also say I don't think the winter is the time to be learning survival skills. Like in the winter, you kind of already have to know how to survive, right? If you go out in the winter and you're like, okay, I'm gonna learn how to make a fire, mm, I'd be a little skeptical about surviving the night without knowing how to
And
make a fire.
And listen, at the end of the day, we're not encouraging you to go out and run and go ahead and test your survival skills. Like, you got to know what you're doing. Do your research beforehand because we don't know what we're talking about when so we're not encouraging anything here. Just FYI on the record.
Yeah, what I will encourage though is if you do want to learn survival skills, watch Bear Grylls. Okay, this
Are you sure
man
you're giving
knows
them
how
the
to
right
survive.
advice?
Yeah, this man knows how to survive in the wilderness, and like he
Okay.
could probably like cut down a tree with his hands if you wanted him to.
Very
So,
attractive.
or like watch Tiger King, right? Because it's in the jungle, in the
Yeah.
desert. People just watch Survivor, watch all the TV
Mhm.
shows. Don't go out and do it yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So let's so you're gonna like so basically you said this before, have a snowball fight. Now, I
Yes.
just want to say one thing before we continue on this topic. Keep a good amount of distance when you throw the snowball. Like, imagine Aaron, I came like straight like 2 feet away from you and I threw it right at your face. That's not
Oh,
going to be fun. That's going to hurt.
yeah.
So please, to anyone watching this, to the viewers, be smart about it. And
And
I'm
don't
I'm
grab ice
expecting you guys to
balls;
be.
those hurt.
Yeah, don't. Oh my god, dude. Personal
Like
story.
today, there's a lot of snow and fluffy snow. Perfect snowball fight weather.
Exactly. So don't pick up ice, like Aaron said. Don't be an idiot, and don't legit give somebody a scar or a bruise. That's not the
Well,
intention
let me
here.
guess. That's what happened.
Okay, so basically, what happened is in elementary school. Now, this is an activity that was not encouraged by our teachers, but we all
Of course
loved
not.
doing it regardless. So essentially, in the winter, and I think this is why we really enjoyed the winter time in elementary school. When we would go out in the yard and play during lunchtime or like during recess, right. There were so many patches of ice. So basically, I don't know what the game was, but essentially one person would be on, like, imagine like my phone is the ice, right? The black ice, okay? One person would be on this end, the other person would be on this end, okay? And basically the game was you had to like go in, run and slide and hit each other and see who pushes who on which end. Okay. So, and I can understand why our teachers at that time did not encourage this activity. Students have gotten hurt, kids have gotten hurt.
Yeah,
And, but hey, we had a good time.
yeah. In my elementary school, we played a game called King of the Hill or King of the Mountain.
Oh, wait, was it where you guys would run up and then push each other off? We did that too.
Like that's the best. But back to snowball fighting. If you can get on a street and the street's not too busy, but like there are some cars passing every hour. I think I've done this with my brother at some
Oh
point.
no. Yeah.
We had a snowball fight across the street.
Yo, I wish I did that.
Yeah. So like that, like if you can get out and do that, like talk to your neighbors and go like, "Yo, we're doing a snowball fight,"
So
and
I'll be
chances
honest with
are
you.
they'll.
I'll just be honest with you. Imagine us doing that now, and we did that across the street on like in a 50 zone,
Yes.
and we ended up getting arrested. But if you saw like 6, 7 year olds doing it,
Well, like
then
not in a 50 zone, but like in like a 30 zone, like on a like I wouldn't go
the
doing it on like
residential
Sail Laurent
area, yeah,
residential. Like I'd be doing it in like in your neighborhood in Brossard or like on my street in Dullard, right? Like I wouldn't
yeah.
go doing it on Sources or like on St. John's
Remember
or
on
like
Tashro,
on Dasher. Yeah, right. I don't think I
yeah,
could aim that. I don't think I could throw it that far across.
test your skills. Um,
But
yeah.
yes,
So
I
yeah,
don't think you could get arrested for starting a snowball fight.
honestly, like I just feel like, man, the older you get, the less you can get away with. So that's where my mind was going. Like if you saw like 7, 8 year olds doing this, often adults would be like, oh, they don't know better, right? So we'll let them be. But if we did it, it would be like, yo, like call
Yeah,
911.
listen, I went for a walk, what was it, 2 months ago? The first snowfall back in like November. My friend picked up snow and just started throwing it at me. And then I obviously threw back. You can't not answer a snowball fight with another snowball, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, get outside, get a snowball fight going. And,
Yep.
like, I don't know for those of you who grew up going to school in French, has anybody seen, like, Mo, have you seen the movie La Guerre des Tucs?
Yes, I have.
Like, if you don't want to get outside and do a snowball fight for whatever reason, watch Leg Out of the Juke, and then you'll be like, okay, yes, I do want to have a snowball fight.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, right? Like be careful. Like whenever you, whether it be going king of the hill or sliding on the ice. I know it's all fun stuff. I get it. Okay. I'm not the biggest stickler for the rules, but if you do it safely, if you do it knowing that you're not at risk of hurting somebody, there's always a risk in any activity you do. But
Yeah,
if you try to set up precautions, set up certain rules, like have a certain distance between the snowball fights or sliding on the ice. I'm not sure how you can set rules for that because that was just too much fun. But be safe about that. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Now,
And like on the concept of being safe in the winter, don't go as much as it is fun to stick your tongue out and theoretically eat the snow. Don't do it, but also don't go sticking out your tongue and then run into a bowl because that's not
Aaron, we're
fun.
speaking to college students. You think they're gonna stick their tongue?
Listen, by now I hope not.
I'm
But
hoping not, but hey, it's just in case you're into that. Listen to Aaron there, okay? So funny. Okay, now this is my favorite one. Okay,
is it
and
snow
I kind of
cones?
have um I was thinking about this one. It could work, but at the same time, I could see why people wouldn't want to do this. So hold a bonfire and let your invite your okay no so just we're not going to invite the friends over because of quarantine rules and stuff, at least if obviously if in your
Bonfires are like illegal in the city.
so okay, you know what, over here, I think they mean in the sense where you have like a fire pit, like you know how you have a fire pit and I have a
Yeah,
fire pit in my yard.
yeah,
So, but at the same time though, this is a little tricky because you have to be, let's say you do invite your friends, let's say it wasn't quarantine and we didn't have to deal with COVID, or this is for the future, or you're just doing it with your family, right? Sure, you could have the fire pit, you could get that working in the winter. There's no excuses to that. But my question is, if it's really, really cold outside and there's a lot of snow, I'm assuming it's covering all your lawn furniture, right? Like your chairs and
yeah,
everything. Then you would have to go through the process of making sure those things are covered rather than being bombarded by snow. And even
yeah.
removing them, the covers, and putting them back probably won't be an attractive feature for most people. But I would say that if you don't want to worry about chairs, then set up the fire pit, but set them up by the stairs. If you have patio stairs or you have,
What? What?
no, I know
Oh wait,
you
the
know,
fire pits, right? Not like
the fire
build a
pit, like,
fire with wood and logs, right?
no, imagine, no,
Okay.
not at all, not at all. But like
Like,
imagine you
because
wanted.
you're not allowed to openly build a fire in, I think it's the greater Montreal region.
So I'm just gonna say one thing. We're not telling you to take wood and
Yeah.
start a fire. You can literally get, okay, so this is important to mention, just so nobody goes out, out there and starts a fire. But you can
You
you
could
can
start the
you can
fire.
literally you can go and purchase a fire pit, and they're not expensive. You can get one from Amazon, you can get one from any, they have a lot of stores have it, like Wayfair has it. um, what are some other furniture stores that we actually have here that are very
John
popular?
Martineau, Canadian Tire,
Yes. Canadian Tire is actually one place I recommend for it. Rona, like
Walmart.
even these construction stores, going to Rona, Reno Depot, Home Depot, they're great spots to actually get a well-built fire pit. And you can get them at cheap as $200. So go ahead and get it and set it up if you want. If you want to be somewhat outside and you want to feel nature for maybe 15-20 minutes, go ahead and do that. And sit by the stairs of your patio stairs. Don't get the chairs out. Set up the fire pit. Sit by there. Maybe roast some marshmallows and be dressed warmly.
Yeah.
The easiest way to do
And
it, right? If you want to get the
yeah,
chairs, you have the chairs set up. Go ahead and do that. That's even better. Cool.
and that's one thing about winter.
Mhm.
Winter sucks because it's cold. But if you dress warmly, like put on your long johns, put on sweatpants over the long johns, wear like 5, 6 hoodies, you'll be warm, right? And then you can enjoy going for walks, having snowball fights, and
Mhm.
all that.
And one thing I wanted to mention, so I was going to mention the whole getting dressed warmly, being very protecting yourself properly during the winter whenever you do step outside, right? And I was just going to say that, and I'm also a victim of this as well. But a lot of people I noticed don't like wearing full on huge jackets, and not a lot of people can afford a Canada Goose because who wants to spend up to $1,000 for a winter jacket?
Winter jacket, yeah.
Not many people want to do that. Let's just be honest, right? So if you find wearing winter clothing is not attractive and you don't look as good as you do, you have to like get out of that mindset, because at the end of the day, your health matters. You staying warm matters. Wear your gloves, wear your scarves.
Yeah,
Even wearing a face mask in the winter is actually very useful when you go walk. Just take advantage of these things and just protect yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else will think. I know people at our age still think like this. We're like, oh, my winter jacket doesn't look that good if I walk around in school and stuff. I'm a victim to this as well. So just
yeah.
wanted to put that out there.
And like nobody cares because it's winter. We get it.
Yep.
It's cold. Do
Yep.
whatever it takes to dress warm. But
Exactly.
if you are wearing a scarf that's 7 years old, probably time for a new one.
Yeah, like come on, if you have to update your wardrobe, I say go ahead and update your wardrobe if necessary. If your winter jacket is half broken, or the
Yeah.
zip is not working properly, whatever the reason may be.
Oh, that happens too many times.
Yeah, where it just gets stuck, or then it ends up shipping off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many times to
Um.
count.
Also, Aaron, this is something you would find interesting too. So, have you heard of the matching sets you can get from loungewear?
Yeah.
Matching sets, matching sweatpants, and matching a matching hoodie
Like,
with it.
yeah.
What do you think about that? Because I've had some opinions regarding that, and it's something we can maybe promote for comfortable warm wear. But what did you think about that before I go on to that? Go on about it.
Listen, so it depends on the color. Some of them are like really, in my opinion, tacky. I'm not.
Hmm.
I think I dress okay and well, but
Okay.
like some people wear like the pink jumpsuits,
Yeah.
like the hot pink or like the neon yellow. Like it really depends on the color, right? Like
Hmm.
if it's burgundy, I'm gonna say it's cool. If it's purple, I'll be like, man, it's kind of okay. Sorry, Zachy. I know you love the color purple. Um, like if it's all black, nobody will notice. But depends on the color. Like if you do it like this orange,
Hmm.
right? I think I'd be a little disgusted by this. Like
I would
seeing,
not wear a matching set with that color. No way. No way.
yeah,
No.
or like what other color? Like this green, right?
Like how about lime? Like lime green.
Lime green like this. Not
Yeah.
like
Imagine. Yeah.
go do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I don't think you have to go out and wear like a lime green snowsuit.
So I'm kind of like, yeah. Look, I'm not big on trends. I've never been on. Uh, I've never been somebody who's gotten on the hype train, and I think Aaron, you're the same way as me. We don't necessarily fall for like the new trends, or some trends are really cool. Like there are a couple of trends that I do get like involved in that I think is actually worth it or smart. But and these and I get the whole matching sets thing. It's like comfort wear,
Yeah,
it's lounge wear. You're staying at home, you're working from home. You look good working at home while being comfortable. But I've always been like, okay, if you want to look good, you're going to go through the effort of looking good as opposed to finding an easy way to look good. You know what I mean? Because people can
yeah,
always differentiate. If you want to look, Aaron, and I noticed this from you, right? Like whenever we go into maybe a meeting or a conference online, I notice you putting a dress shirt on and you dressing, and it's noticeable even when you're in class and stuff. I think it's very important. Some people want
so
to
I have a funny comment on that. I had a
tell
meeting
me.
with Google this week, or
Mhm.
Onyx, and it was a really interesting conversation. Um, so I was talking to like two higher ups in the company, let's say,
Yeah.
and they see me in a dress shirt, and they're like, "Aaron, what are you wearing?" And I'm like, "I'm wearing a dress shirt," and they're like, "We haven't seen one of those in ages since March," and I'm like, "What?"
Yep.
And
Yeah,
and then somebody
it's
else was wearing a cardigan, and they're like, "What are you wearing? Is that a robe?"
so yeah, and that's one thing that I'm never going to settle on. It's like, yeah, like look, if I want to dress comfortably, I'm going to dress comfortably when I don't have to worry about attending, whether it be a class or a conference online or being in a meeting with people. If I'm in a meeting with people, I do have my webcam on, and like I'll like set my hair straight. I will wear something nice, presentable. That's just always been my thing. I've never been a big fan of this loungewear. I frankly don't know, but apparently it's comfortable, it's warm. The more expensive you go, the warmer you should be.
Yeah.
But it's that's just a suggestion. If you want to look into that, I say look into it. It might be your style. I'm gonna try looking into it. I might give it a shot. Might have it on the podcast one day. But for now, it's not something that appeals to me. I have
But like,
my own.
if you are staying at home and you're not getting on Zoom calls, and like I would do this if I didn't have Zoom or class or like conferences every day. I have a onesie upstairs. I'd like I'd put on my onesie and just like chill in my onesie one day, right? Like for those who want to wear their pajamas all day and not turn on their cameras, do it. You do you.
Exactly. But yeah, to continue, and
Oh,
I want to see.
speaking of
Yeah.
trends, there is this new trend in Buffalo and Calgary, among other
Hmm.
cities, where there's um, biking on ice or ice bikes. And what it is, the back wheel is a tire,
Okay.
and the front is like a curved metal thing that's like
Yeah.
a skate, and you could pedal on the ice.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on that trend?
So obviously, being somebody who hasn't tried this trend, I would just worry about safety. Are people safe? Do people have padding? So safety would be a concern. And what ages are allowed to do this? Is it open for all
Mo,
ages or?
why do you need padding when you're on a bike?
No, so the thing is, let's say you fall or you slip, right?
Yeah,
Because if you're in my head is like if you're biking on ice, depending on how you probably have to control your speed, right? Whether it be a
yeah,
tire or no tire. So let's say you fall. That's where padding would come into my mind.
okay, fair.
But it depends because do they have like an age limit to do this? Do they have
No, I saw like a kid and a mom doing it.
yeah, it's just like, and are they wearing helmets?
Yeah, they're wearing helmets.
Okay, because I know helmets is a standard thing, and it's funny because it is a standard thing, but I don't see a lot of people on bikes wearing a helmet even today, even during these times, the 21st century. I know it's not cool. It looks cool to wear your helmet, but come on, like we're not in the 90s anymore. Wear your goddamn helmet.
Like it depends where you're going, right? Like if you're biking down Atwater, yeah, put on a helmet. If you're like leisurely biking on the canal and you've biked it 1,000 times, like
Yeah, so
if
you're
you're
like
on
my
a
mom.
Bixie,
You're like my mom in
if
that
you're
way.
on a
My mom's like,
Bixie,
I'm not
right?
wearing a helmet.
If you're on a Bixie, the Bixie doesn't go fast. There's 3 gears. If you're Bixing up Atwater, then yeah, put on a helmet. But if you're
Mhm.
Bixing on the canal, like I'd still put on a helmet, but like I don't think you have to when you're on the Lachine Canal. It's
Yeah,
literally as flat as it gets.
yeah.
You,
But biking on ice, hey, listen, if there's some like, look, I'm down for any activity. Like, I think me personally, I would be. I'm not somebody who's super like, oh my God, where's the protection? Where's the safety? Blah blah blah. But I will question it because there's a lot of people don't who go into things without really thinking about the risk involved. And people sometimes there are people who are not careful or who don't know how to. They say they can do it, but they really don't have the skill set to do it, whether controlling their speed, whether it be the reaction time. So, and kids, if you bring kids into this, then kids are still developing. Their kids are better than the elderly with their reaction time. But
yeah,
still, kids are, depending on what age of a kid you are, kids love being a little bit more what
rambunctious.
like risk takers essentially. Like when you're
Yeah,
18, then you're a whole other level of a risk taker, right? Because I don't know, at that age it seems very attractive to put yourself at risk for the Instagram story or for
for the gram, for the gram.
the gram. But yeah, no, as planners, as people who think about who basically like, look, we're students at the end of the day. We like
Yeah,
having fun and stuff, right? But for the purpose of these episodes, we like to think in the mind of a planner because that's
yeah.
eventually the type of career path we want to live and want to pursue for the future. So we're going to think about
And
these things.
and I do want to specify like why it's important that we think about winter because a lot of the plans that I end up like seeing or that end up getting talked about are these places like Clock Tower Beach in Montreal, right?
Hmm.
It's a great design, but what's happening to it now?
Yeah,
Nothing, right?
yeah,
Or you talk about like um I don't know, you talk about like very famous public squares like the Bryant Park in New York, right? Or you talk about Times Square. Or in the Montreal context, you're talking about like the Lachine Canal, right? But we need to start thinking about what could be done in these spaces in the winter. And
yeah.
whenever I start a project, we normally like do this really cool method, which is a SWOT table. So it's like um, you're mentioning your the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the challenges. Now, I do want to say that this isn't only useful for planning purposes, right? For like anything in life, do a SWOT table. Like, yes, there's a pros and cons list, but SWOT tables are better. That's
Yeah,
another
and
conversation.
I think business students like using the SWOT analysis.
Yeah, so SWOT is the same thing where it's
Yeah,
instead of challenges, it's threats, and
of course.
challenges and threats are irreversible. Um, and whenever I start a project, the first challenge that always comes to mind, especially in the Montreal context, and I always put it as an opportunity and as a challenge and as a weakness and as a strength. And I put winter, Montreal winters. Every project, I start off with that. I'm like, okay, I don't know what else, anything, but I'm like, okay, I know that I'm designing a park and it's winter. So that's one of the big barriers or challenges or threats or weaknesses, but it's also
So
an opportunity.
And what's funny, because I think you basically went ahead and transitioned the conversation to something that I was actually thinking about before recording this. Now, do you think from a municipal scale we can implement more winter planning and activities? So I'm not necessarily talking about like, okay, how the city is accommodating for um, snow removal procedures, right? Like that's very generic stuff, and I think we would say we're pretty well here in Bursard, at least, right? I'd say we're pretty damn good at it. We can clear up snow really, really well compared to other cities who don't have the necessary tools and technology like we do. Like for example, I say this because like places like New Jersey who have a lighter winter, they don't have to invest too much into getting good snow removals or high quality snow removals, right? But I'll tell you one thing: whenever they do have a snowfall, school's automatically canceled.
Yeah,
It's like a typical snowfall here, and our classes would never get canceled. You would actually have to deal with it no matter how bad it is. And for the most part, it's taken care of by the time you wake up in the morning, because we have some great workers uh,
yeah.
dedicating their time to cleaning up our streets and our driveways. So
Thank you, snow removal
thank
workers.
you. Shout out to you guys. You guys do great work, and it won't go unnoticed. We will.
Yeah, so when it comes to municipalities tackling winter, yes, like a large budget will go to salt and to the flame torches to melt the ice and the snow, whatever,
Pretty
and
cool
the snow
stuff.
removal.
Yeah.
But like there's a whole other aspect that's currently being worked on, and I do want to talk about it because it's interesting. In the Montreal context, if you look at a lot of the new parks or squares or areas coming about, one of the proposals, or a lot of the proposals, like I was at a public consultation in October or November on Griffintown. They're building a school, yeah, next to a residential building. That's one project. Then another is in a park. They're building a refrigerated skating rink,
Hmm.
and there's going to be like a little Zamboni center and a place to rent skates. So that's one park. But like if you look across the island, there's so many of these parks being developed with like refrigerated skating rinks or with space for skating rinks. Um, like there's also the Place des Marialis, which is currently under development, and there's plans for a massive skating rink there, where you could also rent skates. So I think that's like one way that to go about doing it. And then um, this year especially, I'm seeing some large parks turn their uh, paths into skating circles or rings. So in Saint Laurent, I forget the name of the park, but there's at least two where the normal paths that go around the park are all covered as a skating rink, and then it's the same across the street at Centennial Park. Um, there's a skating ring with some trees around it, and I'm seeing this trend more and more, and I'm like looking forward to it because otherwise these spaces wouldn't necessarily be used during the winter. It's bringing people back into the parks in the winter.
Fair enough. And we do we do have quite a bit of winter activities in Montreal, but obviously during these times, some of them have been canceled or very restricted, which don't make them attractive or not really appealing to go to because you want the full experience out of it. So a lot of these events include Igloo Fest,
Yeah,
okay,
Igloo Fest
electronic
is a
music
big one in
event.
Montreal. Yeah,
It's world renowned. Iconic DJs are there. Then you have the light festivals, and you have the
yeah.
lights photo walk. So
So the light photo walks and light festivals are still happening. Like I know there's one in
yeah, there.
Laval called Illumi. I think there's one opening in Brossard. Don't quote me on that.
I've heard of talks, and
Okay.
they do have like, I would say Broussard is very well suited for this type of activity. But so I went to a light show in Laval, right? During
Okay.
this was like, it was sort of like a good blend between Halloween and Christmas, like, and
Yeah.
right, so
Like
themes
November. Yeah.
basically, right? So it was. it was really attractive, but the problem with this is since you actually had to be in your cars. You had to stay in your
Hmm.
cars
Okay,
and you have to basically not walk, sorry, you have to ride
like
slowly
drive
all
around.
around through the
Yeah.
site, right? And they had cool options, right? They had you could basically get snacks delivered to your car at
Okay.
certain points or right in the beginning, and you can just quickly go. It's like a drive-through for snacks, essentially. It's really
Okay.
cool, right? But the problem I see with this is that it has to be in an area that's basically, if you think about a whole city,
Yeah, but
ideally
in
it
the
should be
in
placed in more of a corner, the corner end.
yeah.
So there's no, because the problem with this is if not planned properly, this could cause traffic to those who are not intending to go to these light shows.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, normally the light show, you could actually walk through it, but this year it's special
Basically.
circumstances. But
So
like light shows are definitely a great idea. The skating rings are definitely a great idea. One thing that I'm seeing more and more, and it's not really prevalent this year, but we're seeing like increased seating areas with fire pits or with the heaters. And I think that goes a long way too, right? Like providing these spaces with the heaters outside or like bus stops with the pole to warm you up when you're nearby. I think those are increasing and rightfully so. Um, like you could have a little picnic outside, right? As long as you have
mhm.
one of those heaters.
Yeah, and you know what I would love to see in the future, man? And this is where community planning takes a huge, huge role in, is I want to see communities, whether it be from neighborhoods, setting up small events for their children, whether it be taking these small individual ideas into a larger scale. So, such as the scavenger hunt that we mentioned before, maybe organizing a fun, huge snow fight between a few families together. You know, small like
Yeah,
these very lighthearted events that would make it very attractive for kids and families in general during the winter time. Okay. Now,
yeah,
I know my previous point about the whole light show being in the car. Yeah, this is due to the current circumstances, but as Aaron said, they're usually like you can walk through these places, right? And let's assume COVID wasn't, let's plan for the future. Let's think about how we can initiate these ideas on a community standpoint, right? You can take it to a municipal standpoint, and then it goes down the community. Preferably a bottom up approach would be nice in these cases because historically they've always been a bit more effective. But at the end of the day, it really depends on which body manages these projects
so
and
I
how long they can be sustained.
I do think that it has to come from community organizations, but at the end of the day, it has to be the citizens that buy into it, right?
Yeah.
So if the citizens are like, yeah, let's do a snowball fight, and then they get like people involved, then it's gonna work a lot better. Or if like I know it was really cute. I was on a walk on Halloween, and there was a street in Point Claire
Mhm.
Village that did a pumpkin carving competition, and they were all setting
Amazing.
up their tables on the street, and they were just like walking up and down the street to see each other's Halloween decorations and then to see each other's pumpkins. And I think if I heard it right, the mayor actually went to judge the pumpkins.
I love that. It's funny because I remember that reminded me of being back in elementary school again. Another example is we actually had a competition where we take small pumpkins and we would basically design
Yeah,
it. And whoever had the coolest looking face or the scariest face, there would be judges brought in to see
yeah.
our designs. And from grade 4 to 6, I won first place in fourth grade, first place in fifth grade, and then I got third place in sixth grade. Got destroyed in sixth grade, but hey, we're not going to talk about that. That makes me sad. Still hold it to
Sorry to
listen.
hear that, Mo. But glad you heard one in fourth and fifth grade.
Big
And like,
accomplishments.
and I think another problem is like these roles don't exist in the city, right?
Hmm.
Like the community organizer of the city, it it's a role that like because of budget cuts or because of centralization, this role doesn't really exist. And like if it did, it's a dream job, right? Like event planner for the city. And I actually applied to one of those jobs
Hmm.
for the city of Carefall. I didn't hear back on it, but I'm like, yes, this is a cool job. And it was like recreation director, and I'm like, yeah. And like, let's be real, as planners, we don't know that there are recreational planners that exist.
So, and one thing I noticed, right? Like these types of positions, like being a winter planner, for example, right?
Yeah,
In community events, whether it be from a municipal standpoint, or whether it be from just straight up from the local community, right? Wherever the position is, it creates opportunities. It creates seasonal, whether it be a seasonal opportunity, but it's still an opportunity regardless. And
yeah,
as society moves forwards, as we have new technology and coming into our times, we have naturally, the way I look at it is that we have new ideas and we have new technology coming into place, right?
yeah,
With these ideas that we have to make our cities more community friendly, more interactive, more events, um, more family. Like, what I've noticed that
oriented.
there's a lot of community. There used to be actually, it was very informal back in the day, back in the 70s, 80s, but there would be a lot of informal community events, right? Somebody would just go
Yeah,
out and start something and people would join along. And this was really seen throughout the United States. I'm not necessarily sure about Canada, but I heard the US still to this day is very good at initiating like neighborhood events. Um, whether it be so small to the point where you have a few other neighbors just right by you having an event for their kids, or like having graduation ceremony because all their kids went to the same high school because
yeah,
it's literally within the same area, and they hosted a little community gathering for them. you know it would be nice to see us coming back to that, especially with what
yeah,
COVID has taught us.
yeah. And like, this is my favorite growing up. Like growing up, I played street hockey like every day.
Yeah.
I don't play hockey, but like I was on the street playing hockey. My
Mhm.
neighbors in back, my neighbors up the street, down the street. Like every day there'd be a
Exactly.
street hockey game on our street,
Yeah.
and cars would know it. And it was just fun to see because we'd always like end up playing, and like we'd play 2 3 hours or like 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
My brother's friends would come, like my friends would come, and it's just been like I grew up playing that, and it's a fun experience.
Exactly. See, like events like snowball fights, okay? Let's say you had a
Yeah,
big snowball fight in the park, right? Now, let me ask you a question as a planner, okay? Or as a potential planner. Okay, that's the better word to say. As potential planners, let's say we had a whole community organized snowball fight, right? Happening on um January. What date are we?
well,
Let's say it was
we
happening
are
like next weekend, right? Like let's say tomorrow, January
February
25th.
1st. Yeah,
Yeah, like let's say on February 1st, right? Is February 1st a Friday, by the way?
yeah, it's a Friday. Okay, February 2nd.
Yeah, whatever. So let's say we had a week from now to organize a huge community snowball fight, right? There will be two forts built, one on each end, two, three families and whoever destroys the fort first with their snowballs or knocks whatever down wins, right? And you can have little
Yeah,
tournaments and stuff. It's something fun for the kids and something fun for the family. Maybe having four, two or three kids on one team and three adults on the same team and make multiple teams and have. I just came up with this on the spot, by the way, right?
yeah.
Now, let's say you were in the position of being a community organizer and you organize this event. Would you expect that your city, your municipality to promote this event on a larger scale? Or
So
yeah,
here's the thing: as soon as you start talking about that, it there's a couple of things you have to consider, right? First, you'll have to consider what funding will require, right? You're going to need money to create posters. You're going to need money to staff the people, right? Like, what if there's no snow that day? The people are going to have to go in water and create artificial snow, right? Um, and like in winter, it's hard to guarantee that it's going to be a nice day in 2 weeks and that the snow that we have isn't going to be slush or ice, right?
so you're saying that you're basically saying that the event actually itself happening is already, there's no guarantee to it.
From a planner's perspective, there's no guarantee to it, right? And at the end of the day, planners are working on master plans, right? And planning a snowball fight isn't part of their master plan,
I'm talking about
right?
being a community planner. Let's say you were
Yeah,
actually responsible.
if you're a community organizer, if you're a community planner, I think these are great initiatives, and I think that some of them are definitely being done. But like the thing is, there's often a lack of coordination between the important people of the city and the community organizers,
And
or
so,
like, or even better, the people who actually plan the spaces. So, say your park developer, your community organizers, and then the people who are in charge of like how to get from point A to point B, which is your mobility people, right? There's no real communication between it. So if this person wants a snowball fight, chances are the mobility department won't plan for it, and chances are the park people won't plan for it.
so you know, look, this is a typical issue that we notice as planners and who often have collaboration with their respective cities, right? Lack of coordination or between a bunch of stakeholders, lack of
Yeah,
coordination, communication, and the result, the output just ends up being garbage. Let's just be not, or the quality of the output is just not there. All out, all out there, right? And I think as new potential planners for the future, I think we need to start working towards not having this issue, trying to have better
yeah,
coordination, try to formalize things a little bit more, because if there's nothing written on contract, right, then we can't expect things to get done. It's just,
yeah,
I see a lack of reinforcement in terms of, okay, sure, you're a community organizer and you are expected to work alongside with the city, and the city's expected to help you as
yeah,
city representatives. But if they don't have that in writing, or it was just said like blah blah blah, like we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, you can't guarantee anything done at the end of the day,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and like the other thing is, community organizations often work at nonprofit institutions, um, and it's kind of hard for them to generate any funds whatsoever, right? Community organizers are often going to be in these like local nonprofits, and it's hard for them to do things because not only are they planning the snowball fight, they're planning next week's charity fundraiser. They're also going to be the ones planning the food drive for the next week. Like, it's a lot to put on a certain group of people, like the
So
community organizers.
you were
And
pre
one other thing I do want to add is children are often undervalued and ignored in planning practices. Um, and they do need to be taken into consideration a lot more than they currently are.
I look, I've always been a big believer in being involved within your community at a very young age, right? Just being involved, helping with charity work, because not only for the fact that it's a good thing to do, right? People always think that, oh yeah, being involved in charity work, food drives,
Yeah,
being volunteering for your community, showing how great of a community member you are. Yeah, that's great, right? But it adds experience at the end of the day.
yeah,
Work, no matter what type of work you're doing, whether it be on a volunteer based or on a paid basis, it doesn't matter. You get the experience at the end of the day. So I often, in the future, I would really encourage communities to push their children to getting involved. It just
yeah,
makes them aware of the environment they're living in. It teaches them at a very young age, as little as the age of like 5 or 6 years old. Like
yeah.
showing them small
Even
things and then
younger.
building them up. Now, you know what I would expect. So, you know what I thought of as you were speaking, right? About how the city could probably engage with these community representatives in a more efficient manner, right? Um, do you often receive, I don't want to call it a newsletter, but let's call it a newsletter for this sake, right? In your mailbox,
Yeah,
you
or the
receive
pamphlets. Yeah,
pamphlets, newsletters from your city representatives or from the official office of your city. Do you receive that?
yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, I think we're as much of a fan I am on poster advertisement or like placing things on a pole or a wall. Um, Social media is just more effective, and for
Yeah,
obvious reasons. So if the city has a social media page, if those community members, whatever their organization is called, has a Facebook page, that should be their first first resource to use once promoting their events. And plus, in these pamphlets, maybe the city can do as little as advertising these pamphlets with them,
Yeah,
just being a little bit more helpful and supportive in the process. It doesn't take, especially with the way we advertise these days, it doesn't take a lot of effort. One quick social media post,
yeah,
but
yeah,
people don't
but
do it. That's the
no,
problem.
but here's the thing. Social media posts, it's not just a matter of going on Facebook and writing, "Hey everybody, come check out this at Waterfront Market," right? There's a whole process that has to go on after the fact. Like, what if people comment and their comments are like, "Hey, could I bring my kid to this event? Hey, how much does it cost?" Right? So, like, you do need somebody to manage the social media, and that's a problem because it often gets cut from budgets like social media and marketing. Um, and the other thing is not the populations that you want to reach don't have social media, right? Like if you're promoting a bingo night on social media for the seniors home, the seniors home won't know about it because they don't do social media, right? If you're promoting a snowball fight for kids, the kids won't know about it unless their teacher brings it up because they don't have social media.
So I
Yes,
think
like the general public, so like those over the age of 13, 14, and those below the age of 60-ish, 65-ish, 70-ish, depending on context, um, those groups like are getting the content, but like the younger groups, because often it's like, mom, look, there's a snowball fight happening. I want to go, right? It's not a matter of like, Mom, I was playing Fortnite and on Fortnite, and we see that there's a snowball fight next week.
so. In terms of, and even in terms of this topic right now that we're speaking of winter activities and involving and having basically taking it onto the next level, the community level and municipal level, right? And this is basically the part we are in the podcast, how we can try and promote how these events can be promoted, right? And the way I look at it, Aaron, is I usually notice in neighborhoods, right? There's certain neighborhoods that have younger families there. So
Yeah,
meaning it can either be younger families can mean multiple things, right? It can mean families that have just started, so a newly wedded couple, and then it can range all the way from having a couple of kids between the ages of 4 to 8 years old, you know.
yeah,
So, and I noticed that a lot of parents, right, like especially during this time, you know how there's this, you know how kids are getting really involved with their iPads, they're taking their mom's phone to play a game. We've seen that, right?
yeah,
And it's funny because their parents are not a big fan of it, you know. In a way it's good for them because they're like, okay, this will keep my child busy, but at the same time as a parent you wonder that, okay, my kid needs to socially interact, he needs to meet other
yeah,
kids in his age. And this is where the community engagement can really take advantage
yeah,
of things like this, right? So I just assume that parents, part of these families, will follow these Facebook pages, that will read these pamphlets,
yeah,
because I'm not expecting the kids to go out and be like, oh, go on social media and find it. I expect the parents to do this for them, especially if they're at a young age, right? If they're 14, 15, sure, they could probably have an Instagram or they have a Facebook. More likely, I noticed the Facebook trend going away now.
yeah.
People our age still have Facebook, but them, they're mostly hopping on Instagram or Twitter. And but when you
Or
have kids
Discord
who are
or like
younger, exactly, right? So I
Twitch.
expect the parents playing a big role in this, right? If
Yeah,
they want to get their kids
yeah,
involved, the kids are not smart enough to the point being like think to the
yeah,
extent where like, oh, I want to
yeah.
get involved with my community. Parents have to push for
I
that
want to
if they
build
want
my
their
CV.
exactly, right? So
Yeah, but like I think another problem is that community organizers aren't necessarily valued at the city, right? Like when it comes to when there are budget cuts, it's not like, oh, we could cut money on snow removal or we could cut money on sewage treatment or electricity. We could cut money on these kinds of events and the organizers behind it.
and you know what the sad truth is? As much as we're trying to encourage this, the problem that we see with community held events or community engagement is that you don't get a lot of participation.
Yeah,
You just
and
don't. And
it's hard to gauge how many participants you could have because like you could end up under planning and you end up having 300 people show up when you plan for 25 and you plan to give each kid a freezy, right? Well,
Yep.
if 300 people show up, you're kind of
In my opinion, like, yeah, if you have over the
and
amount, then you're doing something really,
yeah,
really right. But in this case, I'm talking about not even meeting the amount. Like, people
yeah,
host an event for maybe 100 kids, right? But then you only have 20 kids showing up, and that kind of hurts, you know,
yeah,
especially when you've organized, you put in your time and effort, but and then you start questioning, like, did I do you know what the best part is? You could be thinking that, oh wait, what did I do wrong? My advertisement go wrong? Not necessarily. Maybe it did reach those 200-300 people and people saw it, but
yeah,
it wasn't appealing enough to them.
yeah.
So
Or
obviously it
it's like
depends on the context, but
this often happens, and like especially in the winter with sports being on, right? Next week or in 2 weeks, Super Bowl, right? If you planned the snowball fight at 6 p.m. on Super Bowl Sunday, there's zero chance that people are, well, there's very little chance that people are showing up, right?
yeah.
So when you have these events like, oh, there's a dollar hockey tournament, you can't plan the snowball fight at the same time.
Yeah, and it's just a tricky process, and I want to see
Yeah,
as essentially like as a planner, and as I'm personally somebody who loves grouping people together, working towards something collectively, working towards something big, a goal, or just if you're having an event which will make people happy or help people, right? Like, that's why I'm a huge fan of things such as social housing. I think social
yeah,
housing initiatives are great, and whoever can get involved in the process should get involved, right? In any way they can help. So and things like that make me happy, because if you're helping other people, have a good time, and you're helping people in need, or helping, or just making somebody's day, right? If
yeah,
you can plan events like that, I think and you're successful at it, that's amazing, right? But it depends on the context, right? There can be
yeah,
so many reasons to why it didn't work, right?
yeah,
Maybe it's not even your fault at all. Maybe it's just with the demographic you're dealing with. Maybe just
yeah,
people in your community are not interested in this, and that's the sad truth, because there's some people who will look at, like, oh, there's a cool event going on, but then
yeah,
the other parent next to them will be like, yeah, I know we have something this weekend as a family. We're not
yeah.
interested, right?
And that's the thing. I'm somebody like I've planned events, right? I spent my summers at a day camp as a animation coordinator. I was
Yeah.
planning events, and some of my favorite memories. I finished a Friday, and Friday afternoons were very hectic for me because I was
Hmm.
planning these events for 400, 500 campers.
Of course.
And one Friday, this was one of my favorite Fridays. I got water games. I
Hmm.
had hoses left, right, and center. I had
Yeah.
sponge fight going on one field. On another field, I had a slip and like a 30-meter slip and slide on and then what I did was I got two of my friends, the rock climbing specialists, to go on the roof and dump buckets and buckets of water. And I'm like, this is not gonna work. There's zero chance this works. I'm gonna get fired for this, whatever. And fast forward to, and then I'm like, it's gonna rain. I'm like, my plans are ruined, whatever. And the whole day I'm like, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain. It didn't rain. And it starts happening. And my favorite was at the end of the day, a camper went up to a parent and she's like, we had such a fun day. The counselors were on the roof dropping water. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
This
See,
made my day.
and
And
no, yeah.
unfortunately, in planning, it's not something we learn, right? Like event planning is not something we learn at
Event
all.
planning is a whole different category, which is
Yeah,
interesting to think about, right? Because I 100% think especially part of the planning process, they do coincide. And
yeah,
yeah, and I think honestly, the key takeaways to this is, so one thing that I would want to advise our viewers, and just maybe remind ourselves of what we could do to be a little bit more appreciative towards our community, right? See the
yeah,
look, every community has certain struggles that they go through, right? Your neighborhood may have certain people in your neighborhood may have certain struggles that you don't even know about, because basically in the environment you're living in, and the things you see on a daily basis are not the things that are the things you essentially want to see. You put yourself in an environment which is comforting to you, that everything looks rainbows and unicorns. But if you really dig a little deeper and you find out the problems that your community faces, and then you want to engage in it and you want to try being part of the process of resolving these issues, then it's going to open your eyes a little bit more, and you will be appreciative of what you have, and you will think that, okay, how can I give back to my community? They have given me so much,
Yeah.
right? What can I do for my community, right? I think that's one of the key takeaways that everyone should.
Yeah. And my second takeaway is going to be related to the beginning of the podcast, which was our topic, planning in the winter. Even though it's winter and it's cold and it's snowy and gross out, that doesn't mean it should stop you from getting involved in the community, right? If
Of course.
anything, you should be more involved in the community, because there are things that could happen that you want to happen, whether it's the snowball fight, whether it's an ice hockey game, whether it's a light festival. Winter's a harder time, so get involved in the winter too. Don't hibernate and just
and
watch movies all day. Get outside,
and
enjoy the
to
fresh air.
Of course. And the thing is, look, you can, and look, I think we're pretty credible to talk about this because myself and Aaron have hosted a number of events, whether it be in SageLib and university, or whether it be small informal events with our group of friends, right? We've been behind the process of leading these events and setting these events up. And I think we have, we have enough credibility to provide advice on this. If you really want to get something going, you can get it going, but you have to put in your time and effort, right?
Yeah.
um and essentially, like, this whole topic, right, we started off with winter planning, and it does really coincide with winter planning and community planning, right? They go hand in hand. And I think it's good we touch base on the community part of it, because you need it to make these individual family friendly activities into something maybe more in the future, maybe not anytime soon, but definitely something we can consider down the line, whether it be after COVID or 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line.
And I'll end it with a new quote I came up with. There's no I in team, but there's an I in community.
Do you just come up with this?
Just came up with it.
Love the way you ended it, man. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. I think this was one of our longest episodes yet. It's 8:34. We started this at around 7:20, so an hour and 10, 15 minutes. So yeah, thank you for listening if you listened to all the way through. We will provide the links of whatever articles we were referring to, whatever we've read. And if you have any questions, you have any comments, you have any criticisms, you want to bring a point up, bring it up in the chat. You guys have the opportunity to do so. And we will catch you on the next week's episode. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening.